Welcome, everyone. I'm Sharon Beck, your president of the Chicago Club. I hope that you're all doing well and staying safe. We miss seeing all of you, and I am sure you miss seeing each other. Your board has been working hard to bring you monthly shows and will continue to do so every second Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. on Channel 6 until we can return to Clubhouse 5. In the meantime, we hope that you will all take care of yourself and take care of each other. I found this poem by Sandra McShane that I'd like to share with you. I don't know how I'm feeling. I think I feel all right. I'm busy doing nothing from morning until night. I don't know how I'm feeling. I left the house today. I went to do some shopping. I sang all the way. I don't know how I'm feeling. I gave the bags to Mom. We smiled and laughed, and she was fine, and then I went back home. I don't know how I'm feeling. Today I'm not too sure. The numbers keep on climbing. Will they find a cure? I don't know how I'm feeling. I just don't need this stuff. Some cake and wine and chocolate, but boy, this thing is tough. I don't know how I'm feeling. When will that dream come true? I'm optimistic, hopeful, and luckier than some. I don't know how I'm feeling. I saw the news today, but only very briefly. Why won't it go away? I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't know if I'm sad. My friends and family are all fine. For that, I am so glad. I don't know how I'm feeling, but this I know is true. We're all in this together. It's me and them and you. Do you know how you're feeling? You know that it's okay to sit and cry and wonder, to want a better day. Let's just hold this feeling of love, of light, of hope. Let's relish all the quiet. Be proud of how you cope. I don't know how I'm feeling. I think I want to cry. I don't. I make a coffee and I stare out at the sky. Today I got the feeling that soon this will be done. Our lives will change forever, but look up at the sun. You know that deep down feeling of joy, of loss, of pain, the love, the sadness, and the hurt. You'll be okay again. One day we'll get that feeling. Was all this even real? Hold on to that feeling. In time, we all will hear.
Hi, this is Bernie, your travel guy. I am still waiting in this empty bus for our next trip. You guys can help us get ready to do some in-person traveling by everyone getting their COVID-19 vaccinations. We need you healthy so we can get back to our normal travel and meeting activities. This month, Hoppy and Dorothy and Carmen are taking you on a virtual trip. Since a bit of spring is in the air, I went to Muscle Beach to scout out a future trip destination with Ben, one of our neighbors. He has had both his vaccinations and claims that he has superior strength after being vaccinated. This may be some misinformation, but I followed Ben to see some of his newfound skills. Pretty impressive, don't you think? By the way, ladies, Ben is single and looking for a companion. I will invite him to our next Chicago Club meeting as soon as we can be together. Until we can travel together, I will be sending you monthly emails highlighting our virtual travel and entertainment events airing on Village Television Channel 6. If you're not receiving my emails, please sign up at our website shown below, the Chicago Club, lwv.com/trips. We miss you and are looking forward to the time when we can see you at our monthly meetings at Clubhouse 5 and on our bus trips. Until then, stay safe and well. I hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Chicago Club Travel Show. We're so glad you decided to join us today because we've got a really great show in mind. And as you know from if you viewed our prior shows, we have a little objective. We like to be at least 20 minutes from the village and a short drive. So our goal with all of our shows is that even though you can't be with us on our travel buses, we hope you enjoy where we're sharing with you and get in your car and enjoy these destinations. Today's really special because it's absolutely the best beach in the whole world. We're in Laguna Beach. Have you heard of it? I think so. And we're only 10 minutes from the village, so I beat my plan. And we're all of 10 miles in addition to 10 minutes. And it's a short drive. And by the way, did you know that the Orange County Transit Authority has a bus that stops right out in front of Gate 5 and takes you here in 15 minutes. Can't be beat. So we have a very exciting show today because it's Laguna Beach. And oh, did we say the weather? It can't be better. Our whole show this evening is Laguna Beach because there's so much to do in this great city. So of course, guess who your tour guide is today? Our beloved Hoffy. So now I turn the show over to Hoffy and we'll gather with you.
Okay, well, hello Chicago Club. This is Hoffy. I'm so happy to be with you. This show for this March is my hometown, Laguna Beach. I love this town. I've lived here for over 40 years, and we're going to give you the backstory. Everybody knows about the art festivals, but we want to give you the backstory. So first of all, in the early 1900s, artists began to come to this beautiful area because they were attracted by the natural beauty. We had famous artists like Norman St. Clair, William Wendt, Edgar Payne, and Frank Couperin. They were attracted to the beautiful coastline and the wonderful landscapes. And they developed a style called plein air art, or California Impressionism. And they opened up in 1918 the Laguna Beach Art Association. So it's just 2 years ago they celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Laguna Beach Art Association. And you know that the Laguna Beach Art Museum is right on the corner of Cliff Drive and Coast Highway. But then something else cool happened. In 1932, a woman named Lolita Perrine opened up an idea of people posing as pictures. It was called tableau vivant, meaning living table. And they did 9 performances, and it was okay, but they got better and better. And they finally made it into the famous Pageant of the Masters, which is visited every year by people from all over California and even the nation. So it is truly art that put Laguna Beach on the map. And if you take a look at this beautiful landscape, when I was in college at UC Irvine, I had a hypothesis. If the city is beautiful, and if you can see the city, like you can see the hills, you can see the buildings, you can see the beach, people are going to be politically active. And Laguna Beach is very, very politically active. You're going to learn in the show how they voted to protect this beautiful natural environment. Now let me share with you, this is William Wendt, my favorite artist. This is an example of the plein air or California Impressionism. This is actually Coast Highway around 1910. So that's a good example of plein air art. Here's another example, and this is Divers Cove. Laguna Beach is a city of coves. There are 14 beautiful coves, and that makes the water very clear. Now this picture has a fun story. Every year, Laguna Beach invites plein air artists to visit the town and live with residents, and they have a competition, and they produce the plein air art and then they sell it. So this is one of the examples of the art that they sell. There are over 60 art galleries in Laguna Beach, and there's an art walk once a month. So let's take a look at why the artists fell in love with Laguna Beach. This is the famous postcard view of Laguna Beach. If you go to the Coast Hardware and buy a postcard, you're probably looking at this beautiful view of the hills and the palm trees. And very interestingly, Laguna Beach was never part of a Mexican land grant. And for that reason, settlers could come into Laguna Beach using the Homestead Act signed by Abraham Lincoln and build a home and buy some property. You can see why the Mexicans did not use this as part of a land grant. It's too hilly for cattle, but that made it perfect for an artist colony. And this is one of the only towns in Southern California where the hills come right to the beach, creating these beautiful coves and this incredibly clear water, which I enjoy snorkeling in. As we said before, Laguna Beach is a city of coves, and you just saw Picnic Beach, Divers Cove, Fisherman's Cove, and Shaw's Cove. And we're going to walk along here now. We can take a look at the beautiful tide pools. This is Inspiration Point. And in the distance, you can barely make out Catalina Island, which is 26 miles across the sea. We'll get a look at Catalina later. This is Heisler Park. This park was dedicated in the 1920s, and it is considered the most beautiful place to visit in Laguna Beach, and you can see why. Where else are you going to have these kind of views with tide pools, palm trees, beautiful landscaping, and a Mediterranean climate? I mean, people from all over the world come here, and there's very few places that are more beautiful. If we take a look at this rock out here where the wave is breaking, that's called rock pile, and you can see the other rock. When the waves get big, that's a great place to surf. And obviously the surfers have to go to the right, otherwise they die. That's famous rock pile. Okay, a very important part of Laguna Beach's ecosystems are the tide pools. And I like these exhibits for the public on the intertidal and the mid-tidal zones and all the animals that live there, like sea urchins and mussels and barnacles and sea stars and hermit crabs. We need to educate the public because these are very fragile resources. And as we're going to see today, this is very low tide. Now, I've got a couple pictures as well. This is a sea star. They're beginning to make a comeback. Sadly, they died up and down the coast all the way to Oregon of some sort of virus in the water, and it was called the sea star wasting disease, but they're starting to make a comeback. We also have another type of starfish called the bat star, and that's one that I seldom see. You can also see mussels and sea anemone. So it's very important that people that visit the tide pools watch where they step and not take anything. This is a marine protection area. It's a no-take zone. Look, but don't take and don't touch. Also, Heisler Park is very famous for public art. So the city art commission commissions various pieces of art, and we're going to take a look at one that I think is the most beautiful. But before we do, this is kind of interesting. Look at how low the tide is. This is one of the lowest tides I've ever seen. You can almost walk all the way out to Rock Pile. So I've noticed that around December, January, February are the most extreme tides. And we have some pelicans coming in. They're flying by Rock Pile. The Laguna Beach Lawn Bowling Association is right up there, but we are after public art. This is the Laguna Beach Lawn Bowling Association. I used to be a member. It's only about $150 for the whole year, and it's a wonderful place to be. The balls, by the way, are called bowls, and they're not round. They curve, and it's a wonderful sport. There's the clubhouse, and you get to drink alcohol as long as you put it in a plastic cup, and you can see people practicing here. But can you imagine a more scenic place to do lawn bowling? This is expensive real estate. This is another art installation. It's kind of a sad one. It's a memorial to the 9/11 attacks. This is called Semper Memento by George Dubin. you can see part of the original beams of the Twin Towers. And this is on Inspiration Point as a reminder of that terrible, terrible day. And this is once again part of the public art. And if we look over here, this is Inspiration Point, and the flag is at half-mast, sadly, because of the 500,000 COVID deaths. So this flag is usually at full staff, but it's obvious why it is not today. But that's a beautiful viewpoint. This is my favorite piece of public art in Laguna Beach. It was commissioned in 2012. It's by Naomi and Scott Schoenher. It's called Time Connected, and the piece wanders through the park, and we're going to see the latest installation, which was done last week. So first of all, the theme is gears. Look at the gears. They've got butterflies, and they've got birds, and they've got foliage. So what I like about art is that it makes you think. What is the artist trying to portray? That time connects us all, and it keeps going. And then Scott and Naomi take a look at the ocean, and they talk about the tidal pull, which is so important for Laguna Beach. I followed the tide, the water line, the course of the moon, the path through the park. And look at the stainless steel and ceramic tiles that they've laid here. So what do you think of this, Dorothy?
Unbelievable. What an entrance to this beautiful park, and captures the very essence of the beach.
Yeah, and it's kind of subtle too.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
It's just very poetic.
Yep. And I like them quoting a poem, and I like the silver grunion, and I like the kelp. I think that's a cool feature. So we will walk over now to the other part. Yep, here they are, the same. Does this work at all? Yeah. So this is the other part of the art installation. It's called continuous rotation. So once again, the artists are using a gear metaphor, but they're also incorporating all the creatures of the sea, like a bat ray and an octopus and a bass and a lobster. So I really like it. Beautiful craftsmanship. Do you think that's glazed, Dorothy?
I think so.
Yeah.
From in here it looks glazed.
Yeah. The artists also put these ceramic fired pieces around the water fountain. And once again, the theme is very organic, water birds and schools of fish. And I think it's lovely. You know, the colors kind of match nature, and they're not overstated. So this is the last piece by Scott and Naomi, and this is called Lunar Tides. And once again, I think they've really captured movement. They've got the kelp and the fish swimming through. But they also go back to this idea of time with the circular elements. You can see that there's more lobsters and crabs. And I think that those circular elements could represent the microbial aspects of the sea. And then we have the theme of a gear in the upper part. So I just think it's so beautiful. And I think their construction methods, they had to inlay stainless steel to do this. So I think it's a masterpiece. I read a review of it, and they actually said they had latitude and longitude lines, which you can see here in the piece. And by the way, this is meant to be stepped on. This is art you can enjoy, because this is part of the Laguna Beach amphitheater. So I think it's really special. Okay, this is another piece of dramatic public art, and this is called Breaching Whale by John Seaman, and it was commissioned in 2010. But look at this. It's stainless steel, and my only complaint is it's not a California gray whale, it's a humpback whale, because you can see the lateral flukes are so big. But I think it's dramatic and beautiful, and it makes a beautiful addition to Heisler Park. Now let's, hold on. Yes. Okay. Dorothy enjoying the public art in Laguna Beach.
It's so inspirational.
Here's some more fun public art. It looks like they're made out of leather. I don't exactly know what they're portraying, but it's fun that you can walk around them, you can touch them, you can enjoy them. So Laguna Beach is a city of art, and they do a beautiful job. Hey, I think they're recycled tires. This art is of recycled tires. Nice use of a Bridgestone.
There's nothing like art that you can get inside of and enjoy.
And over here we have two more installations, and up above we have a Canary Island palm that is giving its date palms. It dates.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if we could make a smoothie.
Another jewel of the coastline here in Laguna Beach is Las Brisas restaurant. And it goes and it goes. And when you come down on your trip, I highly recommend you stop here for a real great bite to eat. Needless to say, that keeps coming and going and the waves. We've been here for brunch, we've been here for lunch. You can come for hot cocktails at happy hour. It really is just a nice touch to your special trip to Laguna Beach.
Okay, everybody, we're at Crescent Bay Point Park, which I think has one of the most beautiful views in Orange County. This is kind of a secret little park that people don't know about, but I really enjoy it for the body surfing and the views. So first of all, you can see Crescent Bay in the foreground. I said that Laguna Beach has about 14 beautiful coves. And the water is so clear because there's no rivers that come into Laguna. Only when it rains, Laguna Creek comes in, and there's a little bit of pollution, but in general it's very clear. Now, the point there with all the palm trees is the most expensive real estate in Laguna. It was appraised at $41 million, and there's actually a tiki-style house there. So this is a beautiful cove, and in the summer the waves get really big here. We're facing, if you look a little bit to your right, you're facing south. The waves come in from Mexico when there's a hurricane, and they can get 10 feet here. And when you take off on the wave, you better be careful because the waves break pretty close to the shore. So when you take off on the wave, you duck your shoulder and you do a somersault, and you kick with your fins and the wave washes over you. You don't want to be pummeled on the shore. That's called a cutout. And when I was in high school, we called Crescent Bay Killer Crescent because of the body surfing. Also, this is a very special place because it's a marine protected area. It's a marine sanctuary. The federal and state government passed the Marine Life Protection Act. So you can't fish or take anything out of this area. It's totally protected. And if we take a look here, you can see that we have these wonderful visitors, the California gray whales. They come down from the Arctic around January and February, and they hug the coastline. This whale is sky hopping. It comes part way out of the water to see how far from the shoreline it is. I've actually been within 30 feet of these beautiful whales. They go down to Mexico and have their babies, and then they come back up the coastline. So this is the California state marine mammal. You can actually go to Mexico and the mothers let you pet the babies. The other wonderful story here is the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. They rescue sea lions, seals, and elephant seals. If a seal washes ashore and it's emaciated or it's been bitten by a shark, someone will call the Marine Protection Center, the Pacific Marine Mammal Center. They will come and capture it, they rescue it, they rehabilitate it, and they release it. And that's in the canyon, and they have as many as 300, and they're called pinnipeds. And by the way, sea lions have external ears, seals don't. So if you look at a fatter, what you think is a sea lion, it's actually a seal. And the elephant seals are huge, and they can dive up to 4,000 feet. They're also seals. They don't have external ears. You can see the rookeries there up by the San Simeon area. And remember, sea lions have external ears. And then if we pan around, we can see the beautiful seal rock on the left and bird rock on the right. And when the waves and the tide is right, the seals will come out to rest because they need to rest between feedings. But right now there's no seals there. They're mostly cormorants. And in high school I did something very stupid. We climbed up to Bird Rock and we timed the waves and jumped in the water. High school students are not known for their judgment, but this is beautiful bird and seal rock. So this little statue of it looks like a seal, but it has an external ear. It's a sea lion. And sea lions have flippers that are larger, and their side flippers are bigger, so they can sit up on the water and on the land, and they can move around a lot. And that's why they're more easily trainable. When a seal gets to land, their flippers are not retractable, and they're not as large. So when a seal gets on land, it's like a worm moving along, like an elephant seal. These guys can really jam because of their large flippers. Okay, everybody, we are on Main Beach, and this is a beautiful boardwalk, but it used to have a lot of buildings on it. It even had the Cabrillo Ballroom where you could dance every night. But the city of Laguna wanted this to be a public park. So they tried several times to float a bond, and finally in 1968 they floated a bond, and they were able to buy the property and create this beautiful park. They even celebrated by having a parachutist come in to celebrate the purchase of the park. So this is Main Beach Park. You can see the 1929 lifeguard tower, and this is where everybody congregates. Person is Eiler Larsen. This statue is the Laguna greeter Eiler Larsen. He was from Denmark, and he came to Laguna Beach, and he was a gardener, and he fell in love with the town, so he stood on this corner and that corner, and he greeted all the cars. And he did so for over 30 years. So the city officially made him the Laguna greeter. I remember as a kid, if Eiler Larsen would wave at me, I felt very special. They have other greeters since, but this is the most famous Laguna greeter. Now remember I said earlier, when a place is physically beautiful, it's got hills and beaches and natural beauty, people get very politically active and they want to protect it. That's exactly what happened to Laguna Beach. In the 1960s, a lot of people in Laguna began to be worried that Laguna Beach would be overdeveloped and it would have big hotels and skyscrapers. So a group called Village Laguna formed in 1972. They passed an initiative to limit the height of the buildings to 36 feet. No building in Laguna can be taller than 36 feet. If you see a building that's taller, it was built before 1972. Now, if we look here in the distance, we can see Hotel Laguna. That's Laguna's most famous landmark. That's from the 1920s. It's Mission Revival architecture. Notice the rounded gable and the thick plaster walls. It is currently being refurbished, and it has a beautiful interior, and we all look forward to having a drink inside and enjoying Hotel Laguna. So this is the Forest Avenue Promenade, and instead of having ugly K-rails, the city commissioned this beautiful art, and it's a mosaic tile, and they capture the drought-tolerant landscaping, the cactuses, the bird of paradise. It's absolutely beautiful, and a raptor, and on the other side they even have the Garibaldi, the state marine fish. So Laguna should be very proud of this beautiful entrance to the promenade. Avenue Promenade, and this was started because of COVID. The businesses, especially the restaurants, were losing so much income that the city decided on an economic rescue plan. So they temporarily closed the street, and it's turned out to be very, very popular. They've put these nice parklets in for the restaurants because outdoor dining, as you know, is quite safe. So this has really saved the restaurants. And Forest Avenue is particularly beautiful because there's no parking lots. It's all one continuous block face of buildings. And that creates a nice sense of enclosure. You feel like you're in an outdoor room and you're protected, but you're outdoors. So this has become very, very important for Laguna. And the city is now voting to make it permanent. They are putting this out to bid. They'll bring in a designer, and they will approve the design, I hope, by April or May, and they'll go out to bid. So instead of having asphalt, they'll have concrete. Instead of asphalt, they'll have pavers. They'll get rid of the curb. They'll make this a true pedestrian street, much like they do in Europe. So this has been greatly loved by the citizens of Laguna, and I'm so happy that the city did this. I've been fighting a long time to make this a pedestrian street because the climate here is perfect. It's great for outdoor dining. Some people don't even eat here, they just like to stroll. Streets are for people occasionally. They also have a little bandstand here for music, live performances. They have Moulin, which is a nice French bakery and cafe. They have Alessa, which is wonderful Italian food. They have Cafe 230, which is wonderful. And they have Brussels Bistro. So it is a really wonderful thing that the city did. And they also have a gentleman here making sure that people are safe, wearing their masks. Thank you very much. And how has it been to monitor the usage of masks, etc.?
Well, I mean, it's been amazing. There's a lot of lovely people out here, great, amazing people that I talk to every single day, and they're all very cooperative. I let them know to wear a mask, and it helps the community.
Yeah.
It keeps us safe.
Very good. And what do you think of the promenade?
The promenade, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's made for all types of people, families, young people, middle age, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's been great.
Yeah. Hang out and have a good time.
Yeah. They also have outdoor string lighting, which I really, really like. Yeah. Hey, Dorothy, what are you on?
I'm on.
Yeah. What do you think of the promenade?
It's absolutely phenomenal.
Do you think they should make it permanent?
Absolutely.
Okay, but what about traffic? There used to be cars here.
No, I mean, there's so many other parking options in the city.
Right.
All that this does is bring more customers
Yeah.
to the city because it's easy to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't see it as a distraction at all.
Yeah.
Just because you don't have curbside parking.
Yeah.
And I think it's fabulous.
You know, remember I said that Laguna Beach is very politically active. The group that sponsored the Hyde Initiative, there's some feeling that there's too much change in this town. But the citizens really love this, and they want to make it permanent. It's going to cost a lot of money, but it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah,
And I think it's going to be approved this year. So long live Forest Avenue Promenade. And if we walk over here, Carmen.
Can I say one more thing,
Yes,
Bill?
please, please.
The thing that I love about Laguna, particularly as we've been talking about all day, is the fact that the very foundation of their history is art. So what you begin to see when you look at retail is the abundance of art galleries and jewelry stores and pottery stores, and it's all local. You will never find a national chain in Laguna Beach. They will not allow it, as Bill has said. They're very specific and controlled.
And can I touch up on
Yeah.
the chairs real
Yeah.
quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, there were cars and you were able to park here, but I think that the tables and the chairs actually helps out the Promenade Plaza because you allow more people to come in and enjoy themselves while they grab something to eat.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, who knows, March 1st, I don't know when this is going to happen, if it gets to that 25% mark, people are going to be able to be inside and eat their food.
Yeah, and they're going to
this
still want to
helps.
be outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This
You know,
helps to have more
yeah,
people out here.
that's a great point. You know, they call these streeteries. Streeteries, spelled E-A-T.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like a restaurant. All throughout the United States, they've converted streets to outdoor restaurants.
Right.
And this beautiful climate, people really don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And as we pan around and look at the architecture, I want to make one more point. If you will face over in this direction. Laguna Beach does not require a particular architectural style, but they do have a design review ordinance. Every new home and every new building has to be approved by the design review board. It has to be village scale because remember, Laguna is an artist village. So they want to make sure that all buildings are compatible with their neighbors. It can take a while to get a building approved by the design review board, but the end product is usually quite nice. So I think you'd agree Laguna Beach has a wonderfully beautiful, compact downtown.
Right, so my name is David Rubel.
Sorry.
And this is my business, my family business. It's a 92-year-old family business. It was started by my grandparents in 1928. and my brother and I are the third generation, and I have a niece inside right now that just started. She's 23. She's the fourth generation, and we've lived in Laguna over 30 years, but we've only had the business, this location in Laguna for, we opened in 04, so what are we, about 16 years, a little over 16 years. So when COVID hit, obviously we had to shut down for 2.5 months, and we had to really learn how to wait on people, curbside service, pickup and delivery, and we were making the adjustment, and people were reaching out to us. Obviously we didn't have the kind of sales that we would have if we had our doors open, but we were able to quickly adapt, and when things did open back up, we really did hit the ground running. The big concern obviously was for the restaurants and some of the other businesses on the street being shut down, especially the restaurants. I don't think they would survive had we not done this promenade, and it was spurred on and inspired by a council person, Sue Kemp, and the assistant city manager, Sheree Dupuis, and a lady, Paula Hornbuckle, who was the president of the chamber at the time. And they put it together probably in 3-4 weeks and pushed it through council, and to say it's been a success is almost an understatement. It's kind of a place, it's like a community gathering spot. It's what we should have always had. People from around town come down here, and it's where they come to hang out and see other people that they know. And so, if you travel at all and you've been to Europe or any other parts of the world, this sort of thing is everywhere. And here we have probably the best weather in the world, and we didn't even have it. So just to have it is really great, and it made a huge difference in the businesses surviving, and especially the restaurants. So yeah. I don't think they would have without it. So I think across the board, everybody that I've talked to has just been so pleased with it.
Yep, and I think they're going to make it permanent.
Yeah, they did a 3-year extension to look at how to make it more permanent.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
It's going to be great.
Hi viewers, I hope you're enjoying our show today as we've toured Laguna Beach. And really and truly, it's just been a phenomenal time for us to share with you. But we're at another part of Laguna Beach. Really? But there's no beach here. Guess where we are? The Alta Laguna Park. No lie, we are this high in this beautiful, beautiful park, and we're literally the top of the world, and that's what it's known as. So Hoffy's brought us up here because there's so much to do in this park, and truly, it's not the beach.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. I'm so lucky. I live in top of the world. This is 1,000 feet up, and we're surrounded by the Laguna Greenbelt. And that's, I think, Laguna Beach's greatest achievement, saving this open space. And if we take a look, this is how much open space was saved. It was Aliso and Woods Canyon, Laguna Wilderness Park, Crystal Cove State Park, and the Irvine Company also donated part of Shady Canyon and Bomber Canyon. So this is 22,000 acres of precious open space. And the way it all happened is really interesting. There was a bookstore owner named James Dilley who in the 60s, he went to England and he noticed that a lot of English towns were surrounded by a green belt. And he thought, why can't Laguna do that? So he came back and he started an environmental movement. And it culminated in the acquisition, the purchase of this beautiful green belt. As a matter of fact, people had to march. And here's a picture of the march in 1989. When people didn't want the toll road to be built and they didn't want homes to be built in Laguna Canyon. I marched against the toll road, and I also marched against the homes that they were going to build in the canyon. Well, I lost on the toll road, but we didn't build any homes. We saved the canyon. And yes, I voted in the bond issue to tax myself more to buy the land. Because if you want to preserve nature, you have to buy it. Also, one more thing that I think is really interesting. If you look at the horizon from left to right, from south to north, you can see that it rises slightly and then it dips. That is because of the curvature of the Earth. We're actually high enough we can see the curvature of the Earth. Also, if you look at Catalina Island, you can't really see the shore, and that is also because of the curvature of the Earth. So I think that is a really cool aspect of the Greenbelt. One more story that I got to tell you. You heard about the terrible Laguna fire of 1994. Well, I was a teacher at Capo Valley High School on that October day, and my principal said, "Hey, Bill, you better get home. There's a bad fire." I'm only 2 blocks this way. I got home, I could see the smoke. I raced over here, and there were a lot of looky-loos. I looked down into the canyon. Oh my God. There were 20-mile-an-hour Santa Ana winds blowing the fire towards Laguna. I would estimate that the flames were 20 feet tall. It was so scary. I believe that the fire was also started by an arsonist whom they never caught. But anyway, the flames came down the canyon, and believe it or not, they crossed they crossed Laguna Canyon Road, and they went up the hill, and they wiped out 274 homes in this area called Skyline, and they wiped out another 120 homes. So 400 homes were destroyed. Fortunately, there was no loss of life, but I'll never forget that fire. And I evacuated right after that because the helicopters were there. Now, what do you do when you have 2 minutes to evacuate? I grabbed my kid, my wife, and my PhD was in a box. So I grabbed that and we went south. We came home the next day and we didn't know if we would have a house. Our house is right next to Thurston Middle School, and we escaped the fire by about 150 yards. But that was an amazing event. It's a very popular spot for hikers and mountain bikers. And since the pandemic, this place has really been discovered. On a weekend, you can't find a place to park within 4 blocks. Now, I like this wonderful sign and map. It shows you all the trails, the difficulty level of the trails. My wife and I hike it all the time. The wildflowers are beautiful in the spring. We haven't had much rain this season, so the wildflower season might not be as great, but this is a wonderful park and people absolutely love it. But they need to stay on the trails. I see a lot of animals here, and this is one of the animals I saw this summer. Take a look. It's a red western diamondback rattlesnake. It was about 3.5 feet, and you can see that it's got this beautiful reddish gold color, and I like the tail with the black and white. I actually catch snakes and release them if they're in a residential area. There's lots of other animals like bobcats, and there's tons of coyotes. There is some talk, can mountain lions arrive here? Well, mountain lions live in, let's walk over here. Mountain lions live in the Cleveland National Forest. And there's a big debate as to whether the mountain lions can make it to Laguna Coast Wilderness and Aliso Woods Canyon. So let's take a look up here. So there is Saddleback Mountain. It's actually Santiago Peak. So there are a couple wildlife corridors where bobcats, cougars, etc. can move from the National Forest here to the Laguna Greenbelt. But you can see Laguna Woods in the distance, and you can see Saddleback Valley, Rancho Santa Margarita, Mission Viejo, and many of the planned communities of South County. In the distance, you can see Mount San Antonio, which is called Mount Baldy, which is 10,600 feet. So from this spot, you can see the tallest mountains in 4 counties. Santiago Peak, by the way, is 1 mile high. So this is a beautiful bit of open space and very, very precious.
We're on the path to get even higher on our little adventure today. And look what we found. Some coastal sage scrub. And it's just growing here all by itself. This path and this area is just loaded with great areas to look at, and particularly the scrub and the sage. So there's really scrub here, and this is sage. And it smells so good. It's great, and it's Mother Nature at her best.
So we're standing on the highest point. It's about 1,100 feet. We're actually standing on a water tank, a buried water reservoir in case of a fire. They just simply cover it up. Laguna has a very novel approach to fighting fires. After the devastating fire I talked about, they hired a Peruvian shepherd, and they brought 300 goats to Laguna Beach. And these goats eat the vegetation in hill after hill. So if there is a fire, the vegetation around the houses will be pretty sparse. So The goats, I think they do some environmental damage. Man, they eat anything. I think they have 2 or 3 stomachs. But that's how Laguna fights fires. And this is just a great view. Once again, you can see Laguna Woods. You can see the great park. You can see Aliso Viejo, Lake Forest, Rancho Santa Margarita, Mission Viejo, Ladera Ranch, Dove Canyon, Coto de Caza, Laguna Niguel, and San Clemente. And on a clear day, you can actually see Mexico from here. You can see the hills above Tijuana. In the 1960s, Laguna Beach had a very interesting hippie period. There were a group of counterculture people who lived in a commune, and they called themselves the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. And it turns out that they produced a type of LSD called orange sunshine. And you can look this up. Orange County, especially Laguna Beach, was really the epicenter of what they called the hippie mafia. So they lived in the canyon, and one of the members was the famous Berkeley professor, Timothy Leary, who famously said, "Tune in, turn on, and drop out." So they had an emporium in Laguna where they would sell art, and it turns out that they were drug dealers on a massive scale. After they dealt in marijuana, they got bigger, and they produced their own LSD. They also imported hashish by traveling to Afghanistan. So this group of hippies in Laguna was making a lot of money selling drugs right in Laguna. And what happened one time is, this is the most amazing event. They had what they call the happening. They had a music festival in 1970 in Laguna. And let's take a look at the music festival. There were over 3,000 people. They had rock bands, but the Brotherhood of Eternal Love rented a plane, and they dropped 25,000 tabs of acid, LSD, called Orange Sunshine, down on the crowd. And it took, according to the police chief of Laguna Beach, it took 3 days to disperse the crowd. So it's interesting to think that Laguna Beach not only has an artistic background, but it also had a pretty famous hippie background. Now, needless to say, the residents didn't like these people operating in town, especially when they found out that they were drug dealers. And mysteriously, in 1970, their emporium, Mystic Arts World, burned to the ground. So the hippies left Laguna, and it became less and less affordable. But that's the background of the hippies in Laguna Beach, the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. Okay, everybody, I hope you're enjoying looking at my hometown, this beautiful Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach is also famous because they have the World Championships of a sport called skimboarding. And skimboarding, the championships, takes place at Victoria Beach. And what they do is they have a small board that's smooth on the bottom. When the wave comes in, they throw it on the sand, get the momentum going, and they actually glide into the water and ride the waves. Look at this example. When they get on the skimboard and they go really fast, they actually catch waves as if it was a surfboard. This is called skimboarding, and the World Championships are in Laguna Beach. Parking structure is really part of Treasure Island Park in the Montage. When the hotel developers wanted approval, the California Coastal Commission, one of their most important charges is the public should be able to get to the beach. So they required the Montage Corporation to build this subterranean parking structure and the park up above. This is totally open to the public. So they got a beautiful hotel, and the public got a place to park right on a beautiful coastline. At Treasure Island Park and the Montage Hotel. The story behind this is, I think, a fantastic story, and everybody benefited. So what used to be here, they used to film movies here. That's why they call it Treasure Island. And there was a mobile home park. But when the mobile home park closed because of a rent control, they could no longer do rent control, and the trailer park closed, what are you going to do with this property? Because nobody could even come to this beautiful beach. So the Montage Hotel Corporation came in and they proposed their hotel. And the Coastal Commission was kind of thrilled because they said, you can build your hotel if you provide a public park and public access. They also required the Montage Corporation to deed this beautiful park in perpetuity to anybody who visits the coast. So I don't know how you voted, but in 1972, the Coastal Initiative, the Coastal Zone Act, I voted yes, because I think the California coast ought to belong to the people. So here we have the best of both worlds. We have a park that was created by the Montage Corporation and their beautiful hotel. The city of Laguna Beach benefits because these rooms are not cheap. And the hotel bed tax, known as the transit occupancy tax, 12% of that goes to the city of Laguna. So everybody benefited. The public got access and to the beach. The hotel was built. There's 250 rooms, and Laguna Beach got a nice source of revenue. So this, to me, is a fantastic proposition. The architecture they chose was sort of a craftsman style, and that's kind of typical of Laguna. They have sort of a beach cottage vernacular, so they picked a really nice architectural style. Now look at the landscaping. They just did a beautiful job. You can see the agaves here, and let's walk out here. This is one of the beautiful coves in Treasure Island Park, and you can see there are harbor seals that are sitting on the rocks. This is a rookery for them. This is where they come out and they rest, and they love these rocks. You'll see them all over the place. And remember, seals don't have external ears, and they have small flippers. So when they get on land, they have to move like a worm, unlike sea lions. So those are harbor seals. So as we take a look at the hotel, there's the famous Studio Restaurant. It's about a 5-story hotel, but they set it down so it wouldn't violate the 36-foot height initiative in Laguna Beach. Just a gorgeous resort, and the landscape plan is just spectacular. Okay, this is my favorite beach at the Montage. This is the Treasure Island Cove. Really great snorkeling. You can see lots of fish, and there are some harbor seals sitting over there. But remember, this used to be a private trailer park. And once it closed, what a beautiful development they created here. This, I think, is some of the most beautiful coastline. That point really protects the swimmers from some of the larger waves. Beautiful mosaic ceramic piece here at the Montage. I don't know if the Coastal Commission requires art as part of the approval for development, but if you drive up and down the California coast and you see the word public access, that's what the California Coastal Commission makes happen. You can imagine developers don't really like the Coastal Commission because they require easements and public access. But at the same time, much of the public is really grateful for what they do. The jurisdiction of the Coastal Commission goes back 500 yards from the shore. And I think this is a great triumph of the Coastal Commission. The most famous outdoor art show in the world, the Pageant of the Masters. And they have it every year. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they didn't have it. Hopefully in 2022, they will do it again. This is where people pose in the paintings. And when you look at them, you think you're looking at an actual painting, but you're looking at real people. And the last work of art every year is Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. And it is so spectacular, and I'm sure a lot of you have gone to the Pageant of the Masters. It's like a little Hollywood bowl. And this brings so many tourists in. It's such a wonderfully entertaining show. And I love what they've done to the front of the festival grounds. They've really spruced it up. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the famous Sewer Digester Building. This edifice was built during the Depression. That's why it's famous. It was built by funds from the Public Works Administration. It would digest the sewage, and then up above you can see what people thought as a lighthouse was actually a vent for the fumes from the sewage. So this is obviously in bad shape. It's just used for storage now. So the city council voted to demolish it. But then, and this is typical of Laguna, the people said, wait a minute, this is a vestige of the Great Depression and the public works that was done. And in Orange County, there are other examples, like Newport Harbor High School was built during the Depression, Fullerton City College. So the citizens of Laguna decided to save the digester building. Greg McGillivray, the IMAX film producer, he actually put up money, and they are going to refurbish the digester building, and they're going to find an adaptive reuse for it. But I think it's a good case study of a town that really cares about its history, and it has a lot of pride. Plus, it's a fun building to look at, isn't it? Looks like a castle. This is the Art Affair, one of the many summer arts festivals, which is very close to the Sawdust Festival, and they certainly have painted a very colorful facade. But the Art Affair, if you come to Laguna, you can go to the Festival of Arts, the Art Affair, and the Sawdust Festival, and they're all within 300 yards. This is the Laguna Beach Arts District, and everywhere you go there are beautiful murals on the wall. We are standing next to the Art Affair, and then we're going to go into a development called the Hive. And this is a beautiful part of Laguna. Good restaurants and lots of color. Okay. So here we are in the Hive. It's a wonderful, colorful shopping center with restaurants. I love the murals, and as we pan over, you can see there's a restaurant called Kitchen in the Canyon, which is really good. There's a little outdoor seating place. And then there's McLean Cellars, which is wine tasting. And then there's a wonderful Italian restaurant. And then there's the Laguna Beach Beer Company. So you can taste wine, drink beer, have Italian food, or go to Kitchen in the Canyon. And you can see they have lots of safe COVID dining. But McLean Cellars just got recently a good write-up in an Orange County magazine. I also like the food at the Brew Pub. It's really good, and I can't wait till trivia night comes back. And they have string lighting at night. This is a really fun place to go.
Here we are at the Sawdust Festival, and this is probably one of the most famous destinations of all of Laguna Beach. When you say Laguna, people think immediately the Sawdust Festival. Sawdust has a wonderful history dating back to the early 70s, when really the local artists came out here to the canyon and would have a fair to sell their beautiful treasures that they have made. It runs in the summertime and goes till Labor Day, and it's a wonderful opportunity. It has all types of festival things and food and music. Of course, it was closed for COVID, but we love coming here, and people hear it all the time. The Sawdust Festival is one, as it's evolved now, it's really a destination for a lot of people. We're on the canyon. It's on Laguna Canyon Road, coming from the village. So it's not far from the village at all, and there's public parking. The other destination on the other side we just showed you was Festival of the Arts and Pageant of the Masters. And then the other area is Art Affair. So all these destinations become quite fun at summertime, and it really becomes something fun. And again, this you can buy the Laguna Beach passport, and you'll get discounts into all of these festivals. And in addition, just so you know, at Christmas time, they open the Sawdust Festival, and all of the craftsmen come back, and we're able to come in during the weekends during Christmas. So this is really a beautiful place for us to visit, and Sawdust Festival is synonymous with Laguna Beach. We hope you enjoyed today's show. We really hate to leave Laguna Beach. I hope you understand now how much we love it. And Laguna Beach is more than a beach, and is definitely an important part of our history of Southern California. And remember, we're close to the village. We're 10 minutes by car, 7 minutes and 7 miles, and 15 minutes by bus. So you can't beat it, and you can go all the time. and we're so lucky to live so close. It is really the crowning jewel of Orange County. And don't forget, there are other ways to get here. Earlier we talked about being able to take buses from the Orange County Transit Authority. And the bus stops right at Gate 5, and it ends right here at the beach. The first stop is Main Beach. So it's fabulous. And once you're here, especially in the summer, the city has free shuttles, and free trolleys is what they call them, and they're very fun to hop on and see the city in. And lastly, especially when we've shown you Sawdust Festival and that property, because in addition to the pageant, Sawdust Festival and Art of Fair are a very important part of this history of the city. And you can buy a passport online at Laguna Beach Passport, and it gets you discounts into all of these events during the summertime, including some free parking. So once again, we thank you so much for joining us. We love doing the shows for you, and we hope you will come visit Laguna Beach because it's really one of our favorite stops. Take care. Bye-bye.